French authorities are continuing to investigate the death of South Africa's ambassador, Nathi Mthethwa, who reportedly fell from the 22nd floor of a Paris hotel. The 58-year-old diplomat was discovered outside the Hyatt Regency Hotel in Porte Maillot district earlier today. French media suggest he fell from the 22nd floor. Mthethwa was reported missing yesterday. Authorities are investigating the circumstances surrounding his death. Mthethwa served as Arts and Culture as well as Police Minister before his appointment as ambassador last year. Now, international correspondent Simon Marks is in Paris and joins us now with more. Simon, a very good evening to you and thank you so much for joining us. I believe you currently are at the Hyatt Regency Paris Étoile within the Porte Maillot district. Just describe to us in terms of what the scene currently is at that hotel where the ambassador met his demise earlier today.
Well, Katlejo, this is indeed the Hyatt Regency Paris Étoile. It's right here in the Porte Maillot district of Paris, and it's a fairly normal evening here. We've been seeing guests of the hotel coming and going, taxis pulling in every now and again to drop people off or pick people up. But we do now know that earlier today, a French magistrate visited this hotel, visited the scene where the body of Ambassador Mthethwa was discovered. This is the tallest hotel in Paris. Two French newspapers, Le Monde and Le Figaro, are reporting that the ambassador specifically requested a room on the 22nd floor of this hotel, which looks out right across the Paris skyline. From many of the rooms in this building, you get an absolutely direct line of sight view of the Eiffel Tower. We know that the ambassador's mobile phone was discovered discarded in the Bois de Boulogne, which is a wooded area, the outer fringes of which are not very far from this particular hotel. The circumstances in which he was no longer carrying that cell phone are not known, but we also know that investigators here are reporting that members of his family received messages from him that left them concerned about his well-being. And that appears to be the point at which a hunt began for him, which initially took police to the Bois de Boulogne, but then they were brought here to the Hyatt Regency amid news that his body had been discovered 22 stories down from the room that he reserved. When they got to the room, they discovered that a sealed window had been forced open. The French judicial police are now leading the investigation into what took place. They are being quoted by French media sources tonight as saying they believe that this was a deliberate act and that there were no third parties involved. In other words, they still very much seem to be focusing on the theory that the ambassador chose to take his own life. No indication at this point of anyone else being involved or any foul play. But the fact that the magistrate was here just a few hours ago indicates that that investigation is now beginning, and they will, I'm sure, be looking at CCTV images that the hotel may have gathered when the ambassador arrived and checked in, and trying to piece together a real understanding of his movements, not just in the hours leading up to his arrival and then death at this hotel, but of course also in the days leading up to it. Were there indications that he was feeling particular stress? Were there any indications that he had provided to any of his co-workers at the embassy or to family members that he was very much acting under some sense of duress? So the investigation very much in its early stages, but here at the Hyatt Regency tonight, as I say, pretty much a normal evening at this five-star hotel in the center of Paris, the tallest hotel in the city, which appears, according to investigators, to have been chosen by the ambassador for what I think we can all tragically begin to understand may have been a very, very specific reason.
Very tragic indeed, Simon. So you made mention of the family saying they received messages from him. We also have a publication, News 24, which is a South African publication that says his wife received a message which he apologized and expressed an intent to die by suicide. And this is according to a statement by the Paris prosecutors. Do we have any more information from the Paris prosecutors to give an indication as to when exactly was his body found and who found the body?
We don't have precise information, but we think that what took place is that he broke the window seal in that bedroom on the 22nd floor and then tragically fell to his death by throwing himself out of that window. He appears to have landed and died not here on the ground itself, but there is, you can't quite see it in our shot here, but there is a higher elevation that is a sort of an elevated courtyard. And it may well be that that is where his body was discovered and where the magistrate went to visit the scene of his death within the last few hours. As to the details of that message, that is one of the reasons why investigators here are rapidly concluding, I think it's fair to say, that this was an intentional act on the part of Ambassador Mthethwa and that no one else was involved. They do, of course, have to investigate in detail because there will be concern about whether there was any foul play involved in a death like this. And the judicial police here will be continuing their investigation, I think, for days to come, possibly longer than that. Tremendous shock, of course, at the South African embassy here in Paris, arising from the ambassador's death. A tragic day for his co-workers and for diplomats at the embassy. We've not been able to speak to anyone from the embassy at all today, but Durko, as you know, back in South Africa, very much leading the response to all of this, providing support to the family. And we presume here that they will begin the process of repatriating the ambassador's body to South Africa after investigators here give them the approval to do that.
So the ANC spokesperson spoke to my colleague Xoli Ngambi a little earlier on with regards to the French authorities and really calling on them to make a very thorough investigation. Do we know for certain what they're investigating? I mean, you do mention at this point it seemingly seems as though it is leading to them looking into the issues of him intentionally jumping off that building. Do we know for a fact that that is what they are investigating?
Well, that certainly appears to be their operating principle, their outlook at the moment, according to the reports citing sources within the judicial police that have been published tonight by Le Monde and Le Figaro. I think that they will, the French police always do a very thorough job. I mean, thorough is very much their operating principle as investigators. And they are, I think, going to want to gather details of how the ambassador has spent his final days. We know, for example, that back on September the 19th, he traveled to Monaco, the principality in the south of France, where he presented his diplomatic credentials to Prince Albert. That appears to have been one of his final official acts as ambassador to France. He's also been participating recently in UNESCO meetings because, of course, he was the South African representative at UNESCO and was preparing the ground, helping to prepare the ground for the agenda for the G20 summit that President Ramaphosa will be hosting in Johannesburg in November. They will also, I suspect, want to understand whether the ambassador reacted in any way as far as interactions with his colleagues or his family was concerned, or other figures in South Africa, to the testimony that was heard within the last few days at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. that certainly suggested that he could be called as a witness before that inquiry to answer allegations that when he had served as police minister in Jacob Zuma's government, he, according to the allegations that were leveled at the inquiry against him, had engaged in political interference with policing actions. Whether that played any role in the events that took place here over the course of the last 24 hours is unclear, but it is definitely something that the Paris investigators are going to want to look into.
Most certainly. I mean, speaking about Paris, Simon, we also heard about the missing ambassador around lunchtime this afternoon. What do you make of the French media reporting on his death before even the French as well as the South African government confirming the events and his untimely death?
Well, look, things initially moved relatively slowly, of course, because the ambassador's disappearance was noted by family members last night, and that phone was discovered in the Bois de Boulogne, not far from here, although the Bois de Boulogne is a big wooded area, so we don't know exactly where it was found, but the fringes of it are very close to this hotel. So we didn't know until this morning that the ambassador was even missing and unaccounted for. After that, things did move relatively quickly. We spoke to the French police this morning. At that point, they said that they were still gathering information. They weren't even able publicly to confirm that they had opened an investigation. But then Le Parisien, which is another French newspaper, which clearly has sources within the Judicial Police Department, was the first to start breaking news of the fact that the ambassador's body had been found and that the investigation was therefore getting underway. So, look, I think it's a reality of the fact that there are French journalists here in Paris with sources at the police department, and they were able to glean information, and information, as we all know, in this 24/7 social media driven news cycle now moves absolutely at the speed of light, and it's very, very difficult to control all of that information when it does start to emerge. But as you know, here on Newzroom Afrika 405, we were very careful to make sure that we waited for official confirmation from Durco about the sad news here in Paris, and in the last few hours we've learnt more about this nascent investigation that is getting underway here in the French capital.
All right, Simon Marks, thank you so much for your time and giving us this detailed update with regards to the untimely death of Ambassador Nathi Mthethwa. That's international correspondent Simon Marks joining us from Paris at that hotel.